Hi everybody. I want to focus this episode on raids. I could have swore I made this video before and for some reason I couldn't find it. So I'm re-recording the explanation of raids. So we have 3 raids here. Raids are the best place to get gear, right? You get a lot of the best gear, the rare gear when you accomplish and complete raids. So you have the pit where you face the Rancor. Alright. Right now we need to we're currently at about the tier 5 level as a guild. And you see they also have tier 6 and then heroic. Heroic is gonna be a little scary. And you only have a 2-day time limit to complete that. So you have to be really strong before you attempt that. And if you look at tier 5, it tells you your requirements and recommendations. Okay? So you have to be a 5-star or higher star level. You need 46,000 raid tickets to launch. Right now we just finished this raid. So before we can launch it again, we have to accumulate 46,000. Right now we're at 23,200. And it's intended for characters that are level 70 and above, gear level 7 and above. Alright, so that's not every single person in the guild, so sometimes we do lower level raids so that everybody can participate. Alright, but the top players, the players that play the most frequently, are, we're comfortable around tier 5. Alright, we also have the Sith Triumvirate Raid. Alright, so the Triumvirate is Darth Trier, Darth Sion, and Darth Nihilus. Right? This raid we're currently active in. You can see there's 4 sections. We've completely cleared 2 of the sections, and we're getting close to halfway through the third of the 4 sections. And each section is slightly different. Alright, so in the first section, if I remember correctly, you face Darth Nihilus, and then you face Darth Sion, I believe. Then you face Darth Trier, and then you face all of them together. I might have that order wrong, but in each of the sections you face a different one of the Triumvirate, and then you face the 3 of them together in the last one. Alright, so you can see I try to stay active, but as the leader, I don't want to be selfish. I could be the top contributor every time if I wanted to. However, I want to give my other guild members some opportunity to improve their teams, and if they improve their teams, they improve the guild. Right? So it's not all about me. So I'll stay active. I try to stay in the top 3, but I don't necessarily participate in the guild every single day, or in the guild raids every single day, because I want my other guild members to step up. Alright. So I'm going to show you how this one goes, but before I go into that one, there's also this third one called the Tank Takedown. This is the hardest one. It takes the longest to clear. As you see, it's very hard for my other guild members to do a lot of damage. And I remember when I first started it, the very first time I played it, I don't even think I made 1 dent in the tank. It is kind of like reminiscent of Tiananmen Square with that civilian with a rock in his hand standing in front of an army tank. That's what I felt like I was throwing rocks at the tank. Right? I didn't make a dent. And now it's a different story. Of course, I can damage it, but it takes me a long time to complete it. And this one has different stages also. First stage, you fight against General Grievous and, some other droids. And then you have to face it off against the tank. And then the tank goes through different stages. Right? And then they even add gunships in the last part. So you're fighting against the tank and pretty much fighter and bomber jets coming at you. So it gets, progressively more intensive, and the tank is enough to deal with. The tank alone. Alright, so I'll show you how this goes also. So I'm going to go back to the Sith Triumvirate, hit enter, and hit battle. So you see it says battle, then it has 5 in parentheses. So that means each day you can do up to 5. The thing to remember is once you use a character in one attempt, it's no longer available for the next attempt. So it's a good idea to have a strong team. You don't want to just focus, everything on one particular character. Because, just like in sports, if it's a team sport like basketball, football, soccer, hockey, you could have one really good player and a lot of bums, and they're not going to win the championship. The team that has the talent and the dedication spread out more evenly is typically the team that's going to win. Right? So you want to have a nice, well-rounded team, so you can actually make do some damage and make some progress on each of these attempts, right? But I'm not going to do all 5 attempts, obviously. I'm just going to give you an example and show you one of these 2 raids that are active. So I'll choose my team. This is a decent team, rebel team. Sometimes I just use weaker teams, like I said, to not do too much damage, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to use a good team that'll allow me to last long, right? I put Bastila Shan in the lead slot because as the leader, she gives all her other Jedi allies immediate protection, which is very important against tough enemies, right? So Yoda is Yoda, so of course he's on the team. Then you have Luminara, who's good for healing, and Commander Luke Skywalker, for some reason, isn't listed as a Jedi. So now they want you to work on Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker, but Commander Luke was supposed to be a Jedi also. He has a lightsaber. He was supposed to. He might have still been training, but he was supposed to be a Jedi. Jedi Knight is when he completes his training. Anyway, don't let me get into that. But Commander Luke has some nice abilities. I'm debating on whether I want to put him on this team. Sometimes I do, depending on who I'm facing. But I think I want to keep this team all Jedi. And since, for whatever reason, he's not a Jedi, he doesn't make the cut right now. Alright, so Old Ben has some nice abilities. His attack is not what it used to be. His basic attack is weak. But his special abilities are very helpful. And who else? Ahsoka. I like Ahsoka, and not Fulcrum, but regular Ahsoka. I like Fulcrum too, but Fulcrum is not a Jedi. And that's understandable because she was wrongfully kicked out of the Jedi Order. And then, she was framed, and she was accused, and she felt that the Jedi Order betrayed her. And once everything was brought to light, everything was cleared up, she decided, because they, of course, invited her back, but she decided that she didn't want to be a Jedi anymore because she felt they abandoned her and turned their back on her. And the only one that stood by her side was Anakin, which was her master, of course. But she didn't go to the dark side because of it. She ended up becoming Fulcrum, which is still a light side character, which was kind of like a spy or an informant that would still help the Jedi Order and the Republic, but she wasn't technically a Jedi. But she still had her lightsabers. She had the special white lightsabers she has, are ones that Anakin gave her, after the whole ordeal. So she went from her green lightsabers to her white lightsabers. And she still had her Jedi skills. She was still the force to reckon with. And Fulcrum in this game is a very good character. She doesn't keep buffs, or debuffs, I should say. She can copy buffs. She she applies protection to every time she attacks. She applies protection to herself and to other characters. And she has something called Whirlwind, which gets more powerful the more buffs she has. So the more buffs she has, if Whirlwind is active, she converts all of those buffs into strength, and she hits you with a Whirlwind, which, depending on who it is, could even be instantly fatal. So Fulcrum is a good character, but when you're looking for synergy, I'm looking for an all Jedi team. Depending on the situation, she might work. She might work. She has her own attributes that could help this team. But if I'm specifically looking for a Jedi, she doesn't qualify as a Jedi. So I'll use Ahsoka Tano before she became Fulcrum. So, alright. So now we're in the raid here. So you see Darth Traya is surrounded by her lightsabers here. Alright. So you want to attack the lightsabers first before you can actually do significant damage to Darth Traya. You have to take the lightsabers out. Alright, so the lightsabers aren't that strong. They're relatively weak, but you still have to think about what you're doing. Alright, like the one that has counter on it, if you can attack another one, attack another one. But I'm gonna use Yoda's jump attack, which attacks all three of them. So he might end up getting hit by the one with counter. But like I said, Yoda is relatively strong, especially when he has protection. You see the white and purple bar above all of their heads. That's courtesy of Bestia Shan being in the leadership role. And the lightsaber is not gonna hurt him much. So I'll do as much damage as I can. Alright. Ben is taunting, so that's why the lightsaber attacked Ben instead of Yoda. And I'll just go ahead now and just take them out. Just pick them off one by one. That one goes down. Somehow I missed that one. Alright. So when you take all three of them out, she gets stunned. And just do maximum damage while she's stunned. Alright. Okay, I can go ahead and put Bastila Shan applies these buffs to the character of your choice, and I always choose Yoda because Yoda can then spread the buffs to everybody else. So once Yoda is around, I use his last ability here to the far right, and he spreads the buffs to everybody. And that's a lot. That's very menacing and difficult to deal with. Alright, and everybody has counter now because Yoda had counter. Alright, so I didn't even have to do anything. Just every time the lightsaber attacked one of them, they attack back automatically. And she's stunned again. And so this is what you just keep doing. Now you have to pay attention to the icons underneath here, especially when you're facing Darth Nihilus. That's very important because Darth Nihilus has that ability called Annihilate, which can pretty much just take out any character with one blow. It takes a while to charge up. But when it's charged up, one of your characters is gone. All right. So when you're facing any of these raid bosses, you should pay attention to the icons underneath the health bar. And one of the ones that is most important is the one that has that countdown on it. So right now it's on 14. I want to do as much damage as I can before that countdown comes down to 0. Every time the raid boss takes a turn, the countdown comes down by 1 until it comes all the way down to 0. At that point, the raid boss just becomes unbeatable, right? And they start one-hitting you. Alright, so I'm going to do as much damage as I can before then. If it's possible, she's not really susceptible to turn meter attacks. But if you're fighting a raid boss that is susceptible to turn meter attacks, I would suggest if you have a character that can manipulate turn meter, that you do it. Because then it takes them longer to get to their turn, which allows you to do more damage before the countdown runs out. Alright? But for now, I'm just going to do the best amount of damage that I can. Alright? Alright, so the lightsabers that have the eyes over them are going to dodge or evade your attack. So I'll get rid of the other one first. Alright, so I know the first time I'll just use Yoda's jump attack and he's going to miss, but then he'll get this one next time. And again, you're not worrying about Darth Trier right now. Before I take out this lightsaber, I just want to draw attention to that blue and white buff next to Foresight or Evade that's on top of her. So if I hold it, so underneath Foresight, you see it says Bonds of Weakness. It says when an enemy uses an ability, gain 1 stack and damage all enemies based on stat count. Can't defeat enemies. Enemies can't heal above 90% if stat count is 20 or greater. Right now the stat count is at 9. Alright? So when that gets to 20, you have this over here, stand alone. Right? So it says face Darth Trier without relying on the strength of others. For 3 turns, this unit takes 50% less damage. Remove taunt effects from all other allies, and they become suppressed for 3 turns. Suppressed allies grant this unit a portion of their stats based on their roles. You know, so it tells you tanks 100% tenacity, attackers 100% offense, support, and healers 100% maximum health. And you can scroll here. So activating standalone removes all stacks of Bond of Weakness. This is why I was reading this from Trier. This ability has a global cooldown and can only be used by each unit once. Alright, so when Bonds of Weakness gets to 20, I recommend you wait till it gets to 20. Then have one of your characters use standalone. Alright? So I just wanted to point that out. I'm going to go ahead and take out this lightsaber. And we'll just keep attacking right now. Alright, I'm just using mostly basic attacks right now. Alright, so remember, and you also have to know your characters. Some characters are stronger than others. So like the lightsaber that has counter, you know, I probably wouldn't hit it with Ahsoka or with Luminara because their basic attacks aren't really that strong. But with Yoda, I know he's going to take it out, so it's not going to have a chance to counter. Ahsoka, I mean, her hit isn't strong, but the reason I like her is because she removes buffs. So if she hit it, it probably wouldn't counter anyway, because it would have removed counter from it, even though she wouldn't have destroyed it in one shot. All right, so I'll hit her with this one. When I can use more powerful attacks, I do. I'll hit her with this one from Yoda. I'll hit her with this from Bastila. Just basic attack for Ben. Nobody needed healing. Alright. Yoda has evade or foresight, which causes you to evade, so I can go ahead and spread that to the others. Alright, so another thing to see. Alright, so when Darth Trier hits you with that charge blast, I'm going to show you what that debuff means. So you see it's that red debuff with the lock on it. Once it's locked, that means it's much more difficult to remove. Right? Not impossible to remove, but much more difficult. So for Isolated, it says can't be revived, can't attack or gain positive effects out of turn. Allies can't attack or gain positive effects during this unit's turn. Yeah, so basically that goes directly to Yoda's ability to spread his buffs to everybody. So now he'll spread it to everybody except for Ben, because Ben has Isolated on. Alright? And there's not really much we can do about it until she gives it to somebody else. So we'll just keep fighting. We'll go, like I said, just take out the... Don't even worry about Darth Trier yet. Just take out the lightsabers. Then you can focus on Darth Trier. And this is pretty much what you do until you can get that bar down to 0. You know, the unfortunate thing is the higher the tier you're in, the less damage your attacks do. So it really is a team effort. It's very hard if you're doing the tier that's appropriate for your level. It's gonna be very hard for you to do the whole thing by yourself. You know, if you do a much easier tier, you can go through the whole thing. But, you know, just remember, the easier the tier, the less significant the rewards. So if you want better rewards, you have to try to do a higher tier. But of course, you don't want the tier to be so high that you can't defeat the raid, because that defeats the purpose. All right, so now I see bonds of weakness are at 20. So I'm going to click on this and I ask you, will you stand alone and face Darth Trier without the strength of others? Just hit OK. And you see everybody else gets faded to black and the spotlight goes on whichever character you are on, in this case Yoda. And it's just me and Darth Trier. Alright. Alright, so now he can't spread his buffs anymore. But you know, Yoda has no fear. He is truly the Master Jedi. So he still has Isolated on him. So I'll let Ben give everybody defense. So that removed bonds of weakness. Alright, so you see, I tried it just to show you what would happen and it didn't work. So he can give himself more buffs, but he can't give it to anybody else. Who's attacking Yoda? I'll let him take out this one. And Luminara could take out that one. And Ben, hopefully he'll take out that one. See, Ben's basic attack is weak. He's there for his special abilities. This is old Ben. Obi-Wan. Alright, let me see. I'll do that. Alright, I think after I finish this, I'm gonna cap the episode and do another episode for the tank takedown, because it's getting close to 30 minutes. Alright, and as you see now, remember I was telling you about the icons underneath the health bar? You see the skull there? So you see the countdown went all the way down now. So now we're in trouble. That's why you see that she's actually able to hurt us now. And now everybody has all these ability block and health block and isolated. That's because her countdown came down. So now it's just a matter of time. And she's just going to take everybody out. So like I said, you just do as much as you can. And then you move on. Let me see, what is that? It's not actually ability block. It's buff immunity, so you can't receive buffs. That triangle with the lock on it. So we're stuck using our basic attacks. So now you see, just get one last blow on her. And that's it. Alright. And that's the Sith Triumvirate Raid. So I'm going to wrap up this episode and then I'll come back and just do a short episode on the tank takedown. Alright, so as usual, it's been grand. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.